So what else do we need to know about the microcosmic orbit? In the first video, we've had a look at the trajectory, we've had a look at the pathway of the Do, the pathway of the Ren, the points, the gates, and some of the names, and why knowing the names is going to be very helpful for visualization. So when you use this map, you can apply this to your spine and your head and your tailbone and the front of your body going down the midline, so you know that when you pass energy through these points, it means a certain energetic sort of metaphysical function. And so as we've learned, this Ren and Do, Sun and Moon, Joseph and Mary, River Chariot, River Jordan, flows up and down the spine, and this flows up and down the spine by breathing in and breathing out, contract and expand, and pump the cerebral spinal fluid up and down the central nervous system, which is the spine and the brain. And this cerebral spinal fluid is actually able to carry hormones and neurotransmitters. And in the second book, you'll find that there is actually DMT, dimethyltryptamine, in the spine. And there's a study I've mentioned that when that spinal fluid is electrified, it can potentially enable the DMT to be absorbed by the body, because it activates the monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which then allows DMT to be processed through the body. This, obviously, no study has been done on that, but I've put together some few bits and pieces of information to logically surmise that that is probably what is happening, which is possibly contributing into being able to access altered states through doing this very simple practice, which is one of the outcomes. It's not the only one. So anyway, how do we do this practice safely and correctly? So safely, we have to be grounded. I mean, it's called the microcosmic orbit to harmonize the human in between the cosmic and telluric, which means earthly, vibrational fields. So if you're not touching the ground, the earth, it's going to be much harder to synchronize yourself with the earth. And I have found this out through trial and error by accident. I had to move house, and then a lot of stuff happened in my life where I was really sort of knocked off balance, and I had very limited access to the grass. I live in a tropical island and we were having quite a lot of very intense thunder and lightning storms, to the point that if I had left the house, I might have gotten hit by a falling tree or a python. So yeah, there's lots of things to take into consideration when you're doing this, because you can become very, very ungrounded if you're not touching the ground. So that's a big rule. And then the second part of it is you're going to be swallowing saliva. So the Chinese Taoist teachings describe this saliva in many, many ways. It's called the golden elixir, the jade elixir, the heavenly elixir. It's always talking about it in some sort of description of it being an elixir or some kind of immortality or rejuvenating substance. And it comes from the mouth, and it's produced by the parotid gland mostly, which is a big gland behind the back of the cheek and the neck, in front of the brainstem. And when you do enough microcosmic orbits, or you do it in your own time through this visualization process, going up the do, down the ren, moving that through, you don't have to do it fast, you just do it according to your own feeling, and really checking in with where you feel the energy in your ren and do, and moving through the gates, and really, like, you can call this kind of a somatic exercise, which means you're using your senses to really feel into your own body, to feel where the energy is. And then if you feel where that energy is and you want to move it up to the next gate, then you can use or incorporate your imagination to then bring that energy towards where you want it to go. So that's why these alchemical maps, like the one we're looking at, are really, really useful. So in the process of orbiting the energy and the fluids through your body, through the ren and the dumai, you will start to build up saliva in the mouth if you're doing it correctly. And once you've built up enough in your mouth, you'll kind of get a feeling for it, because it'll be like so much fluid in there that you want to swallow it, right? So there's a certain way to swallow it, and it's actually demonstrated very interestingly with Ireland as a body, because she looks like she's got she's a body in profile, and she's got her head tipped back. So we have to do the same. We have to tip our head back, and I've been experimenting with, like, how much do you tip your head back, and what's the comfortable way to do it? And everyone's going to be slightly different, but from what I've found through my own experimentation over, the course of a year, is that the most effective swallowing position is to tip your head back as far as it can go. So you're technically staring up at the cosmos, and that's going to straighten out your larynx and trachea. And then before you do that, this is a golden elixir. This is a rejuvenating substance, and it's in your mouth. And it has basically formulated as a distillation of this electromagnetic amplification that is occurring as you consciously participate in that process. So this is what is called namana from heaven, and you don't want to waste that. You want to really get as much out of it as possible. And the saliva contains enzymes and minerals and things like that are, obviously we use it to aid digestion. A little bit of DMT found in there, according to different studies, along with things that will help clean the teeth. So if you, the Taoist practices, they teach that you should swish this mana, golden elixir, around your mouth at least 9 times before swallowing. And I've found it quite useful to, not coconut oil pull with it, but really just swish it around and make sure you get it around all your teeth and all your gums, because it's for cleaning. It's helping you clean your mouth. So obviously you want to do this with brushed teeth and get your mouth clean before you do all this sort of practice anyway. So then after you've swished around your golden elixir in your mouth 9 times, then you tip your head right back and stare at the cosmos, straightening out your trachea and your larynx and your trachea, and then with your tip of your tongue still on the upper palate, scrape it back, and almost like you're scraping your tongue tip back towards your brain, and then you're pushing the saliva down your neck. And this is going to involve practice and gagging and feeling like you're a baby bird trying to swallow what the mother's giving to you. But as you go on, or at least from my personal experience as I've gone on, it does get smoother, it does get more controlled, and you'll find that instead of sort of feeling like you're swallowing it just down your esophagus where the food goes, it is more of sort of combining with a bit of an energetic feeling as well, because you will start to feel some kind of energetic happening moving down the Ren Mai. So it's not just a feeling like you're swallowing something down your throat. There's kind of an energetic electromagnetic field that is accompanying that, and then that is going to be passing down, obviously going between or between the pathway where the heart and the lungs live, and then this is passing through, you know, in the Neijing too, you can see, I'll do more videos of explaining exactly all the characters in this artwork, but in that artwork you will see there's a little boy standing on a spiral, and he's holding this stick-looking thing. The stick-looking thing is actually a constellation, and it's called, it's part of the Big Dipper. I think it's Ursa. He's either holding Ursa Major or Ursa Minor. I'll have to refresh my memory. But he's standing on the Milky Way galaxy, and he's holding Ursa Major or Ursa Minor, which is a part of the Big Dipper that, when you track it around the 4 seasons, it forms a swastika. And that constellation always points towards the North Pole Star. So this is a really, really deep character, and he's representing the heart. So this is showing us that as we move energy through the microcosmic orbit from the seed born in a manger at Bethlehem to the lower cauldron where it's imbued with Jing essence, life force essence that is stored in the kidneys, then it's maneuvered through the little phyllium gap in the base of the tailbone, through the first gate, through the gate of destiny at Mingmen, up through the brain door at the occiput, in through the upper tomb, the upper cauldron of the brain, the cavity, the cave, the Golgotha, the skull. And then as we move that down and then into the mouth, this is the place of Libra in the zodiac, and this is also the place of Moses. There's going to be heaps of cool stuff I'm going to explain to you about that. It's really, oh my god, it's so interesting. This is the upper and lower palate, and this is actually the Red Sea, and this is where the tongue, the red dragon, touches the palate, and then that energy, that golden elixir, that mana from heaven, is then brought down through proper swallowing, and then it passes through the Renmai and then activates the heart, the cow herder boy in the heart, which then is speaking to the constellations, the fixed stars, and also the Milky Way. So we have this as within, so without, as above, so below, and then this as within, so without communication that is starting to occur when we complete one round of the microcosmic orbit. And then as that energy flows back down to the stomach area, Zhongwan or Ren 12, the middle cavity, we've returned back to Bethlehem, the house of bread and meat, through the manger, the crib, the place of chewing. The manger at Bethlehem has been returned back to through one cycle of practicing the microcosmic orbit.